If there was ever a year that we all needed to take a vacation, 2021 is that year. The last thing that we want to have happen is take that vacation of our life, come back to our gardens, find dead plants, find overgrown plants, find insect infestations in our garden, and lose plants that we've worked so hard to grow from seed. So today we're going to talk about 4 tips to vacation-proof your garden. Stick around. Hi everyone, my name is Riley and we're in my garden today. Number 1 tip to vacation-proof our garden is to make sure that our garden beds are going to be evenly watered while we're away, and it's the most important thing we can do. The easiest, most fail-safe way to achieve this is to install a soaker hose system in our garden beds and pair that soaker hose system with a smart watering timer. Now, if you've already got all your plants planted out, and you do because it's the middle of the summer, well, installing that soaker hose can still be done with all those plants in the bed. And in fact, it makes it a little bit easier because all you're going to do is snake that soaker hose around all of your existing plants, and that's going to ensure that all the plants in your bed are evenly watered while you're away on vacation. Pairing that soaker hose with a smart watering timer really takes the game up a level. These smart watering timers will connect to our local weather channels, our local weather forecasts. If there's rain forecasted in our area, it will send a notification to our smartphone that our watering is going to be delayed based on the amount of rain we're going to receive. And this is really helpful to ensure that we get even watering in our garden beds. Remember that uneven watering is the #1 cause for blossom end rot. We don't want to come back from our vacation and find brown rotten spots on the bottom of all of our beautiful green tomatoes. Along with the soaker hose installation, and equally important, is to make sure that we've got 1 to 2 inches of mulch on all of our garden beds. The mulch is going to keep the moisture from evaporating out before it gets a chance to soak down into our garden beds. So it's critical to have that mulch on our garden beds before we take that vacation. It's also a great weed suppressant. I hardly ever weed my gardens, probably 2 minutes a week when I see an odd weed growing up that snaked its way through my mulch. So it's just a really good idea to have that mulch on our garden beds anyway. Step 2 for us to get our gardens ready for us to take a vacation is to harvest the fruit that we can. We don't want fruit to become over-ripened and start to rot on the vine. This will invite in pest insects we don't want in our garden beds. So for our tomatoes, we should come in, harvest any fruit that is ready, like this, and any fruit that is starting to turn from green to red, like this one. And fruit that is starting to turn, we can just leave on our kitchen counters. It will ripen up in a few days. 1 tip, don't put these in the refrigerator. Cooling down these tomatoes is going to affect them, make them lose their flavor. We're better off just letting them ripen at room temperature. For my peppers, I do exactly the same thing as my tomatoes. Anything that is ripe, that is ready to harvest, I go ahead and harvest. Anything that is starting to turn, I'll go ahead and harvest that too, and I'll let those finish inside. For my vegetables like zucchini and summer squash, also cucumbers and even eggplant, I will also harvest early and consume those when they're young, rather than let them become overgrown while I'm on vacation. For my green beans, I harvest what I can. I cut off the tip and the end of them, and then I freeze them, and those are great fresh frozen. After we've got our watering situated, we've harvested all the fruit we can, the next step is to trim, prune, and support the plants. For pruning tomatoes like this, I take off all of the foliage down from the next set of fruit that I'm going to harvest. You can see I'm at the end of my tomato growing season here in zone 9B. And my second tomato growing season is going to start in about 10 weeks. So I'll be starting my tomato seeds for my second growing season in the next week or two. So stick around for that video, or come back for that video. So for tomato plants, I prune everything from the fruit down. If you are growing zucchini vertically, you'll want to go ahead and support that zucchini or summer squash plant, lift that up vertically, put another wrap of wire around that, keep that vertical. It has a tendency to lean over, and if you leave it too long, it's very difficult to straighten it back out and get it straight without breaking the main stem, and I've actually done that. So you're better off, before you go on vacation, check your summer squash, check your zucchini that you're growing vertically, put one more wrap of wire around it, keep that top vertical. For cucumber plants and melon plants and any winter squash plants, anything with a tendril, a vining plant with a tendril that climbs a trellis or climbs a structure, really good idea to get in there and prune those before you go on holiday, so that you don't come back to a jungle of a plant. And for those winter squash that you may be growing vertically, or melons that you're growing vertically, we can't harvest these early. They need to ripen before we harvest them, ripen on the vine. It's a good idea to support these. I'm just using an old t-shirt. I made a fruit hammock out of it. I wrapped it around the arbor I have this melon growing on, and I go around and do that with all of my plants. All of my winter squash, all of my melons, so that they don't disconnect from the stem here when they're ready to be harvested, fall onto the ground and split open. And this is a good practice anyway, but it's especially important to check your plants before you go on vacation. See if you've got any fruit that's growing up about to that harvest size, and get it supported before you leave. That way you don't have to worry about it. If it does disconnect while you're away, you've got this hammock holding it from dropping onto the ground, and it will be perfectly fine when you get home. And the last thing I do for my garden before I go on vacation is I apply organic preventative pest control measures a day or 2 days before I leave on vacation. I use Bacillus thuringiensis BT in my garden for squash vine borer control and for tomato hornworm caterpillar control. And I apply this about every 7 to 10 days. It's good for about 7 to 10 days of protection. So normally, before I'm going to go on vacation, a day or 2 days before I go, I'll go ahead, fill up the spray bottle, spray my squash plants, spray my zucchini, spray my tomato plants before I leave. That way I know that they're protected, and I don't have to worry about losing those plants to pest insects while I'm gone. That's it, everyone. A quick summary is harvest the fruit that you can. Make sure that you've got a watering system in place to keep your plants watered. Prune, trim, and support your plants the best you can before you leave. And apply any organic pest preventative measures that you use in your garden a day or two before you leave on vacation. And then don't forget, after you've finished all of your pruning, this is great material for our compost bins. Remember, 50% green and 50% brown, you can't go wrong. Black gold for your next growing season. Thank you for watching. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. We'd love to have you on the channel. And if you enjoyed the channel, please hit that thumbs up and share the video. We'll see you next week.